I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video originally, but I kind of felt I needed to. So, a little bit of an update from last year. About a year ago, I had a heart attack, which was a complete shock to me, and had to have two stents put in. And it was a wake up call. I was contemplating prior to that for a few months about starting a channel, a health channel, which became LZ23 Strength. But at that point, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. Was I qualified to do it? What should I do it? But I realized how fragile health is, and how many people out there are dealing with similar issues, and how much sometimes we take our health for granted. And I really felt that there's something that we can do about it. So that's what I moved forward after that. It was a tough time in my life. You start to feel sorry for yourself, and why me when at that point I felt I was doing a lot of things right. I felt obviously had weaknesses and some family history, hereditary things, genes that I had to fight with. But what I had studied is that those really don't come into play if you're doing the right things. They don't come into play until the later decades, which now I'm 61, so I guess maybe the later decades start around 60, depending on what you're doing. So, so I felt I needed to do this, and recently, almost a year to the day, I had another health scare. So let me walk through that and tell you what happened. It was beginning of a super cold stretch here in this part of the country, and we got some snow. And previously, I had met with my cardiologist, and while he didn't recommend going outside and shoveling or even snow blowing, he said that I was at a totally different point. This was probably a couple months ago. So he says it's up to me, but he says that's primarily a young man's activity of shoveling. But I was just pushing the snow, and being a workout guy, I like to say a Viking bodybuilder, I thought I can push the snow. It wasn't that big of a deal. But obviously, at the front of the driveway where plows seem to bury you, I ended up pushing heavier snow and then even lifting a little bit. And I got a very similar feeling to a year prior when I had the heart attack. It wasn't severe or anything; it just felt off, and I kind of ignored it. It went away quickly. Now, just for the record, people have all sorts of symptoms when they have a heart attack. Obviously, chest pain would be the first thing. I didn't have chest pain. Some people get numbness in their arms or pain in their arm, nausea, back pain, whole slew of different symptoms that people can get that are kind of a warning, like you're having a heart attack. So, but that happened once. I was outside, so I left it alone. And actually, I'm just going to tell you now before I forget. Now, in talking with my cardiologist, says extreme cold is not good for your heart. So whenever you go outside, you should always have your mouth covered. And I didn't, and it was a cold day, so I was pushing the snow on a real cold day, and that happened. Then several days later, our work was the end of the month for us in January, and we always have a strong push trying to hit certain numbers. And I was working hard, and it came on me again mildly, but similar to when I was doing the snow, and it went away relatively quickly. So I was like, that's odd, but I didn't think much of it. And then several days later was the end of the month, and I was working extremely hard, and I work in a warehouse, and job's real physical, lifting a lot of boxes, and eventually when I get them packed up, they're in big shipping containers that could be well over 200 pounds, and pushing, dragging, lifting, shoving, strapping, doing all kinds of stuff. And it came on me again. This time it wasn't going away quickly. And I said, boy, that's the third time in a little over a week. Told my wife I need to call the cardiologist and see if I can come in and see him. Obviously, they get scared, don't want you. They want you to go to the ER, and they were actually mad. I drove myself there, probably not recommended. They said I should pull over and call an ambulance, but I didn't feel that bad. It just didn't feel right. And for me, I don't think there was much chest discomfort at all. Something felt unusual, but I think the mind starts to play on you that you know something's going on. So you're like, does it feel unusual? Maybe it didn't. Most of mine was just in my head. I don't get headaches. I've had headaches in my life, but I generally don't get headaches. So when I started to feel strange feelings in my head, uncomfortable, that's why I associated with a year ago. That's what happened. So needless to say, I ended up in the ER, and they kept me overnight, and eventually did an angiogram. Actually, let me tell you first of all, why they felt there might have been some cardiac situation. There's something called troponin or troponin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I've heard it pronounced a few different ways. And I guess it's an enzyme in your blood, and there's changes and elevations that take place that they. So he told me a couple of years ago they would have sent me home. They wouldn't even recognize that. But now the technology has gotten to the point where they can look at that and see if something's going on. So they thought there was enough to, and obviously with my history, to warrant looking at that. And just to make sure we were safe, they did an angiogram the next day. Basically didn't find anything. I thought there might have been a little blockage outside one of the stents that I had. But later, when talking to my cardiologist, he didn't do the angiogram. It was his assistant. Um, Felt that the stent opens up the artery wider, so the one that's narrower, it looks narrower and looks like something, but couldn't really verify if anything was really going on. Probably a little something going on there, but not much. So basically, upped a few of my meds, and felt that strongly exerting myself as far as my work, and obviously snow removal shouldn't be in my future plans. So that's a whole nother video talking about that kind of stuff and changes that I might need to make. But I left there okay, I guess. How I felt, to be honest, it was emotionally, it was harder than I expected. I felt kind of broken, felt defeated, because when I was in there a year ago, when I got out, I was determined, like, I am never coming back here again, at least not for a decade or two. And 1 year later, to be there again, it was demoralizing to say the least. And thought I had made enough changes to so that wouldn't happen. But obviously, something's going on. So I was discouraged. And it's crazy because you feel that when you're doing the right things, not perfectly. I talk about that endlessly on this channel. That even when you do things not perfectly, but you're doing things pretty good. That from exercise to managing stress to eating way better than I had before, eliminating bad things. That should be far past moments like this, and that's not how health works. It doesn't work that way. And even since then, it's interesting. Some sad notes of individuals who passed away recently. Actor James Vanderbeek, 48. The lead singer for Three Doors Down, Brad Arnold, 47. Totally unrelated. Both of them had cancer. But I look at those ages, and it just you start thinking about life and mortality and other individuals. And then Robert Duvall, famous actor, died at 95. And on the one hand, these young men were late 40s. He basically doubled their lifespan. And obviously, I don't know any of them, don't know their lives, what they did, but it's wild to think of ourselves being in that situation in the hospital when my wife went home for the night, and I'm sitting there thinking, could this be the end? Don't want it to be. I feel like I'm doing enough that it shouldn't be. So you get all kinds of crazy thoughts, and I'm sure maybe at times you've thought about that too. But the realization is that it reminded me about something that I talk a lot about, and I feel even more deeply about it. That health span, it's not about being perfect, as I mentioned, but it's about staying engaged and keep fighting. Have to keep fighting. I put out a little short on this on YouTube and Instagram, and hopefully going to use it. I'm not sure. We haven't done it yet, but song by Triumph. If you're familiar with Triumph, they have a song called Never Surrender, and it's kind of my mindset in general. It's not that we can eliminate every risk, and but it's about noticing the signals, knowing our bodies, knowing what's going on, and then continuing to show up, never giving up, never surrendering. That I went through the early stages emotionally of, like I said, feeling broken, feeling defeated, discouraged. I'm kind of over that now and determined to fight again. We all get there at a different rate or a different way, different ideas. Um, Technically, I'm not looking for sympathy. I want you to feel bad a little bit. Hope you like me, and maybe you have some feelings that way. But we got to keep fighting, and that's why I keep this channel going. While I was in the hospital, and even afterwards, I thought, do I keep doing this? Right now, don't have a ton of followers, and I'm hoping to eventually reach more people. It's not about inspiration and motivation, but I'd like to hope that I'm doing that for folks, for you. But not necessarily looking for sympathy, but it's I hate to see people suffer. And now that I'm doing this even more, not only for myself, I notice it even more when I'm out and about and seeing people and what they're going through, whether it's friends and family or acquaintances or just seeing people out and about at stores and when I go shopping and seeing people are in a bad way, and I hate to see it. So I'm hoping that through this channel, through my experiences, that I can affect and maybe help somebody and encourage them. And I know just from my circle of people that people are struggling to take care of their families. They're struggling to make a living, struggling with stress, time, health, exercise. Everything is a struggle in the world. Sometimes it's not very helpful in getting us to that point. And I'm hoping that my voice can reach people and help them and encourage them in some way to do what they can to do better and stay in the fight. It matters, even if it's uncomfortable. The other choice is slowly crashing or crashing hard or crashing fast. Not a good outcome. So got to keep in the fight and keep trying. Along with this, I guess I should throw in there something else I've been battling. Obviously, the heart is a life issue, but just quality of life for the last 2 years since 2024. I've had a disc herniation, my L4 and L5. So it's created sciatic pain pretty severely. And in 2024, I had a couple epidural shots in my lower back. First couple didn't do anything. The third one finally did. And for a year and a half, I was pain free and working out like crazy and carrying out my job, which is physical. But several weeks ago, it came back with a vengeance. And I've been in some pretty severe pain. And I often wonder, nobody has said it, but I wonder if there's a connection with the heart issue coming from trying to work, because I tried to work through the pain, but every day's been a struggle. I end up sleeping most of the time in a recliner because even laying in bed, it hurts. Sitting is okay, but the other hard part is when I first had it in 2024, I took a lot of different pain meds and helped me get through, but now being on the different heart medicines, they don't want you to take a lot of different things. And so I'm very limited on painkillers, and it's making things ever so hard. So I'm looking into some options, and maybe I'll do a video on that, because can't live this way and can't be a Viking bodybuilder and be crushing it in this kind of discomfort and pain. So I've been dealing with that too. Actually, right now, that's actually way harder than what happened even with the heart stuff. That got to me mentally, but the physical part, I'm not working out like I was, and I'm anxious to get back to that. And a lot of issues. So, anyways, so basically, LZ23 strength was never about having all the answers. I know a friend of mine, I bring this up in videos all the time, and he's tired of me saying it. I'm not a doctor, not a scientist. I just do a lot of research, have a lot of life experience. I'm not a personal trainer or coach, but I feel I have so much experience and knowledge that I've taken in even over the last couple of years that I would easily have the accolades or the ability to be a personal trainer or coach. I just haven't gone through the formalities of getting that, which who knows, in the near future I might try that. But again, I'm not a doctor, so we need them. They do wonderful things, but I still think we need to do our research ourselves and learn, make adjustments in our lives, and build a life so that we can stay strong and stay independent as long as possible. So my mission hasn't changed. If anything, it's more real now, and I got to double down. I have already changed my diet again, even more, and eating things that I never have in my life. Even my daughter's shocked when she sees some of the things that I'm eating. So we're going to keep working at that. So key thing is, if you're going through something now, health related, remember you're not alone. We're all in this battle together. We all have different health issues that are coming down the road. The key is don't ever give up. Keep fighting, whether it's physical or it could even be mental or emotional. Don't give up. You're not alone. We're all doing it. And everything that you're doing, the effort that you're putting forth, it all matters. Even if you're doing it imperfectly, it still matters and it still counts. So appreciate you watching. I want to urge you to exert yourself, elevate your health, evolve in mind and body, and we'll have some more updates and encouragement. But I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe and try to stay healthy and keep fighting.